this is kind of the trophy room.
Yeah.
You know, been lucky enough to win some races over the last couple of years, so got them all kind of tucked in here. My favorite one, the Belleville Trophy.
Sure.
You know, obviously Midget Week last year with Kyle was really cool. We got some of my grandpa's old trophies in here too, back from
Oh yeah.
old stuff. So that's pretty cool. And then the championship stuff from last year with Chris. So it's been a fun ride. You know, it just the transition to owner has been different, and but it's definitely been something I've been enjoying, and you know, having success with Chris has made it really fun.
Got some old
helmets, yeah. I think I have almost all of my helmets except a couple.
Yeah, you
So-
trade out a couple?
No, I think I gave a couple away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never got into the trading out,
Yeah.
but I gave a couple of them away. So some old Rookie of the Year trophies from way back when I was a kid. These ones right here.
I was trying to figure, I was like, what is the Hobstyle? It didn't even click in my mind.
The Outlaw one, yeah,
Yeah.
with Christopher.
Yeah.
Second in points when I was second in points. Old Bob Darland.
Yeah, and all the way back to, we got some Rookie of the Year, doubled them up
Yep.
back in 08. So, 07 you ran a lot back east.
Yep. I went
08.
back there for like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
We worked at a Panthers IndyCar shop. Just ran as much as we could, you know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Usually Bloomington, Lawrenceburg, Kokomo was kind of our go-to.
Right.
And at that point, it was, you could either go to Gas City on Fridays or Lincoln Park on Saturdays. And for whatever reason, we always went to, well, I always loved going to Bloomington. It's my favorite, probably my favorite track in general. Still. Yeah. I always tell people if I was going to come back and run one race, I'd run Bloomington. Just because qualifying a midget there, it's fun. It's just wide open.
It's fun to watch even.
And then we always went to Lawrenceburg on Saturdays, even though Lincoln Park was...
Old Lawrenceburg too.
Yeah,
That was,
for the first year.
yeah, first year.
And then, yeah, I didn't run Lincoln Park much until really I came back and ran...
We didn't even run USAC at that point in time.
Yeah.
At Putnamville.
So, but
So 08 then,
then... Oh, wait, we did the whole national deal.
yeah, you guys, I mean, that was a big chunk. I tell people a lot, we visited a lot of young teams, but you guys ran pavement and dirt with the sprint car and the midget, and I mean, what was that like as a, you know, you're a 16-year-old driver trying to be a race car driver, but I mean, that was a big workload too.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was, you know, it was a heck of an opportunity, right? So that was the biggest thing, and we just tried to make the most of it, and we put in a lot of long hours, but just having the opportunity to drive so many different cars and go to so many different places, I think helped kind of mold me, and you know, and then having to work on the cars too is, I think, kind of led more into the transition of what I'm doing now, because I've always been heavily involved on the car side. So like, it was never just show up and drive for me, which is something I was always liked, and you know, I felt that I've been able to kind of grow that side of my program, and then, you know, just the way I like the cars, and I've become very tedious on how all the cars are built. And I think that all started before that, but especially then when, you know, Chris and I were doing the bulk of the work on the cars.
Yeah, so I mean, for, you know, again, a lot of people don't know, they look at your success now and what you've been able to accomplish, but at 20, what are you, 29?
28, yeah, for a couple more months.
Yeah, oh yeah. So, but, you know, your father was still working back home.
Yeah.
I mean, he was making the bulk of the races.
Yeah, so he would come to all the races, but as far as like working on the cars during the week, we had a couple of different mechanics that worked for us. Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like you had a full shop of...
Yeah, well, yeah, but a couple of different guys, and then
Yeah.
For the most part, it was just Chris Ball and I during those USAC seasons, and you know, we would work 7 to whenever, you know, whether it was pavement or dirt, or you know, if it was going to get done, it was one of us two doing it.
And I look now, you know, because I remind people of how, you know, simplified things are now, you know. Is it almost easier when you're just having to worry about a dirt midget?
Yeah, I think Yeah, I mean, just the whole, not just prepping the car, but with a pavement car was, the tires and everything else that you had to go into it to be successful. And, we had a couple decent runs, but for the main part, I think we were probably spread a little too thin to be successful at all of it. But, like I said, it was a, great opportunity and taught me a lot. And then, even going on to doing other things that I've learned and try to bring that back to now the program and the way I've seen other people do things and, try to emulate my program like that.
So June of 2008, youngest USAC sprint car winner ever. It was a great race at Hagerstown. It's honestly one of my favorite memories of seeing success from a team and a family. But that was Eastern Storm in those days, and it was an off day on Friday. And you guys actually had to test Winchester on Sunday, I remember.
Yeah.
And it was sort of up in the air if you were going to stay and run Hagerstown.
Yeah, we thought about going home just to kind of get the pavement car ready, and then I think we had a rain out maybe the day before.
We were off.
Yeah.
And
then so we decided to stay and go to Hagerstown, and obviously glad we did. I think, we just showed up there, and having grown up running Manzanita, showed up to a big half mile, and it was just kind of, I don't want to say it felt like home, but it was kind of something I was used to.
Right.
So I didn't know any better and just kind of held her to the floor.
Do you look back now and you realize how you really didn't know any better on a track that was, super fast and sketchy?
Yeah. And now I probably don't, I look at it as more sketchy than I did then. But I can remember qualifying being like, woo, because I think I was after Mellenbrent had flipped out of the park.
Yeah.
Down into
Which is a clip that a lot of people I'm sure have seen.
Yeah. So, and anytime you qualify a non-wing sprint car on a half mile, it's you got to be up on the wheel and committed. Probably is the word, right?
Yeah, fully committed.
Yeah.
On a night like that.
And I think we were able to catch 6, so catch the invert, and then and obviously at that time Levi was the guy, right?
Yeah.
So
it
was a fun race.
It was a good race. Levi and I know Hagen and Witt were both up in the mix.
Yeah, I mainly remember racing Cole.
Yeah.
I think Levi and Hagen got together.
I think actually Cole and Hagen ended up getting together.
Oh, okay.
You had kind of left a little bit. I think they ended up making contact.
And then the funny part was Cole had won 2 nights earlier, right? And Cole and I had grown up racing go-karts. Well, we didn't race go-karts together because he's a little bit older, but at the same time we're racing go-karts. And then we got into micros and then midgets, and so then he got the record for the youngest winner, and then it was cool to kind of eclipse it the next night.
Pretty crazy time. For such young drivers to be in the mix like that, it's difficult.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not any, it wasn't any less difficult than it is now, and you had a lot of veterans at that time that were tough to beat. Yeah,
no, and like I said, Levi was the guy then, right? He's in the middle of winning his championships, and it was definitely a cool night that I'll never forget. This is my office. Got some more helmets. Some of my favorite ones I keep in here.
One thing that's been a point of emphasis in your family for your father too is education, and that was part of your move after USAC, was your education, and I see that's proudly displayed.
Yeah.
You finished up down here.
Yeah, so when you work 6.5 years on something, you probably got to put it on the wall and display it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely going to UNC Charlotte and graduating, and I wouldn't say I did the college experience, but I always just kind of went part-time and slowly worked on it. And it's something I feel like really helps me today with, the business side of the team and the program, and so it's something I'm proud of, and keep it right up there with the Belleville kind of pictures Casey got me for Christmas one year. She had that made, so that's pretty cool. I think that was my Indiana Sprint Week suit that I won Kokomo in.
Cool.
So just kind of some different things that were important to me. Obviously that Sprint Week win is probably almost as cool as the Hagerstown win, honestly.
Yeah.
Just because at that point we're racing Brian and Levi for the championship,
sure.
And we had a really, really good week.
We actually went over that video with Levi of, how many times do you go to the end of sprint week and it gets to the last night and the top 3 in points are 1, 2, 3 on the racetrack, and I don't remember very many races where I saw guys run harder.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know if you could remember back and rank races that you ran that hard, but I'm not sure you could have run any harder in that race.
No, and just racing guys like that for sprint week is cool,
Yeah.
right? So they're the best to ever do it.
After USAC, you transition down here, running some other stuff. What did you take away from your experience in running the stock car stuff and trying different disciplines and probably more stuff you use on the team management? So
yeah, I think you just see, there's such big teams down here, and when you're a smaller team going to these races and you see how they're doing things, and I think that's just the biggest thing I try to incorporate into our program is to emulate what those guys do, and just how clean everything is and just how organized, and getting the cars to be all the same so that when you're working on them, it's easier to work on them and streamlined for sure. So that's how we try to run our program. So whether you're in this car or this car, the stuff is exactly the same, and then the spare parts are all exactly the same. And from a team standpoint, it just makes everything easier to manage because now it's not like, you got a one-off car over here and a one-off car over there. So that was the biggest thing, and just, my OCD's gotten bad down here, so.
I'm sure. And the whole family ended up coming to Charlotte. You guys deep roots in Phoenix, but all the way through your sisters and everybody down here. Yeah,
so it's cool. My sister, my older sister moved down here after I did. I was down here a year by myself, and then she moved down here, was able to move within the company she was working for, and ended up meeting her husband, and has since had 2 kids with a third one on the way. And I ended up meeting Casey down here, and then my sisters moved out, and they finished school down here at UNC Charlotte too. So my whole family had gone to ASU, both my parents and my older sister. Brooke started at ASU, and then Brooke, Emily, and I all finished at UNC Charlotte. So it's pretty cool to have the whole family here, and the family's growing, by the year.
Yeah.
So, we had Chloe in September, and then my older sister has another kid due in May, and then I'm sure Brooke and Emily are on that range somewhere too.
This was a landmark victory here.
At Linda's. So that's
definitely a cool trophy.
Yeah. We'll give that to Chloe someday.
Sure.
Let her play around in it.
Yeah.
But like I was saying, obviously growing up in a racing family, since we work out of the same shop as my dad keeps all the exhaust stuff, got some cool trophies from his racing career, and racing midgets has been in our family for a long time. Obviously, it's kind of what made my dad's career on the IndyCar side and got him the opportunity with AJ Foyt was what him and John Lawson were able to do together.
Yeah.
Going out and winning all those races in 96 and 97, and then, Chili Bowl. And without midget racing, he definitely wouldn't have had the opportunities he had. But,
a couple
the
hometown up there too.
Yeah, PIR back when midgets ran there, and I think that's a Western States Championship trophy. And then the car he sat on the pole with, or a replica of it, in the speeds when they used to handwrite all the speeds at the speedway. So it's cool reminder when you walk in every day.
How big was the insurrection when the muffler shop moved?
It's definitely been a transition. It's all pretty organized now, but they had been in the one building in Phoenix for like over 20 years, and so he had accumulated 20 years of stuff. So there was a lot of stuff that got thrown away before it came out here, and then once it came out here, it was just it's a smaller space that they're working with now. So just trying to get it all organized, and then we kind of have a up front at the shop where we keep all the midgets, and kind of keep the 2 deals separate, and we'll go out to check the shop. So just getting cars ready for Florida. This will be Chris's primary down there. Excited to have Chris and NOS Energy back. Obviously last year was huge, right? Winning the championship and our first year together, and my first year just solely working on, the team and the cars and working with Chris and Andrew it was a lot of fun. and looking forward to more success this year.
So, this is a guy you raced against. I mean, not a lot of difference in age.
I think that's.
I'm sure there were some memories of going wheel to wheel.
Yeah, and what's funny is I can remember my first night in Indiana racing a 410 sprint car is the Elliott brand at Bloomington.
Okay, yeah.
Chris, I think, qualified second maybe, or ends up finishing second to Dave, I believe.
That could be, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then that, my first race there, and he's a little bit older than I am, I think. But yeah, what's funny is even when I first started talking about him coming over, it was like, well, Chris and I never really had any run-ins that I can remember. But it's been fun. We've become better friends over the last year, and it definitely couldn't have gone any better than I could have hoped.
With your transition, do you think it benefited having a guy who'd kind of been through the ringer to maybe take a little bit of that off, especially with having a younger driver on the other side? Yeah, absolutely. I think he's just, he knows what he wants, and then the way we work together is funny because it's not, I'm not going to say he doesn't have a huge input on the car, but just I feel like having driven more recently, I have a good understanding of what he needs in the car, and when he says he has certain fuels that is maybe holding him back, that I can relate to that. Especially like, you go to Lincoln Park, right, or Putnamville to qualify, and you have to be fully committed to that pedal to be fast. So getting the car comfortable to be able to do that, I think, is something that's been really good for both of us. Yeah. Was it as difficult, more difficult, less difficult than you thought it would be to fully step back?
No, because I think I was at the point where I was ready to do it. It was so hard to do both, because it was like 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Yeah.
And to be fully committed to just focusing on driving the car when you're racing guys like Chris and Sunshine night in, night out, you have to be fully, that's all you have to be thinking about is driving the car. And, I was thinking at that point about, we were running Carson or Zane and kind of had started developing and growing this program, and I knew long-term that's what I wanted to do. Yeah. And then when I got the opportunity to run Geo there at the end of the West Coast swing, or the end of the year in 2019, it was just like, well, this is what I think I want to do next year, and I have this great opportunity with Toyota Racing and Geo, and I know Geo's a gasser, so why don't we just go ahead and just do it now? And then, we go to Arizona and we kind of struggle a little bit, but then, go to Placerville and he picks up a win, and it's like, okay, well, maybe this is it.
You're running, not just him, you're running the full house too. Yeah. And able to be really good.
Yeah, so, and I think as you have success, it makes all that easier, right? Like, if we were struggling, I may have the itch to get back in the car, but when you have good guys that are going out there and you feel like they're getting the most out of the car, I don't feel a huge like burden on me to be like, oh, I need to get in there and to show that the cars are capable, because, I have guys that are capable of winning races right now.
The feeling, the competitive feeling, the winning feeling, is it similar? Is it, how does it compare?
Yeah, I think, I get the same enjoyment of Chris winning as I did, when I won myself, honestly. And just helping someone else achieve success is, it's different too, so it's almost more rewarding because, before I was working on the cars and then, getting to enjoy the win by myself. Now I'm working on the cars and helping someone else be successful, and then especially helping Chris get the Triple Crown. When we talked back in September of 19, I guess it was, the main goal was to get the Triple Crown, right? Not that, Chris doesn't love running midgets, but that was the main focus. So I feel like now that we've done that, there's almost pressure off of us coming into this year where it's all about going out there and winning races and, just being super successful. Because now, the Triple Crown's done for him, he's got it. Now it's just solely about winning races.
A tough thing for a lot of guys whose fathers have had success is getting their own identity. Do you think that this helps a little bit too on that of, even as you're winning, you win all these huge races and whatever, you're still, it's you and your dad are connected. But I think it feels like as you've had all this success that maybe people have realized a little bit more all that you've brought to the table. Even before when you were driving, people
Yeah.
Maybe realize what you brought to the table.
Yeah, I think
this has been on your own. I mean, you're we haven't even gotten to see Billy in quite some time.
So we bring him out of the barn every once in a while. We made him go to Sweet Springs so I could stay home and be there for Chloe to be born. But yeah, I think it's just something that I've kind of taken, and kind of when I came back to midget racing in 16, I knew that it was going to be different than when I was 16, right? And so I knew that we were going to have to find sponsors and partners to be able to put these programs together. And if I wanted to continue midget racing, I had to find funding to do it.
Right.
And I've had longtime supporters in Pristine Auction and KNC Drywall that have, I always tell them, they text me after, a good race or a win or whatever. And I say I couldn't do it without them because I really couldn't have, because they were there in the beginning.
Yeah.
So I definitely couldn't do it without guys like that. And to have them still in the car today, even when I'm not driving, and have them kind of be essentially team sponsors is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is neat.
But yeah, and on the side of kind of making it my own, I just feel like I've been able to maybe let more people know kind of what all was involved and how involved in the cars I've been. I think everyone at the track kind of knew that.
Right.
But maybe from the outside looking in, people probably thought we had a blanket amount of employees working on the cars. But, usually it was me at the car wash with a couple other buddies at 2 a.m.
I mean, that's the misconception of from the outside looking in, and we see it a lot. When you're people who live it all the time, you see how people actually do it, and most of the time it's not what people think.
Yeah.
And that obviously the case for you more than probably just about anyone. But at this point, you're not just that you've won a championship, but what you have. I mean, how much pride is there in the leaps and bounds it's come?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just being able to take a team that 4 years ago was kind of just my dad and I going racing, to build it into when you're comparing it with the Keith Kuhn Motorsports and the CMRs is definitely cool. And I want to take it even further, right? I want to be the team that everyone wants to go to. And I think some of the biggest compliments are like, I was talking to Jerry Coons and his wife Amy, and they said that Kale wanted to drive at CBI, right? So when you see younger kids that want to drive my cars, it's that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we actually brought it up there even with Keith of his feeling of he crew chief for your dad.
Yeah.
25 years ago, over 25 years ago, and now the guy knocking him off and the guy he has to beat every week is you. Is that a surreal feeling on your end of things too? I'm sure as a kid, Keith Coons was probably a pretty big name when you were growing up watching midget racing.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the success that my dad had with John Lawson was thanks to Keith and Muzz and that whole program John had put together. So getting to go out there and race with guys like Keith and Tim and people that I respect.
Yeah.
And I think there's a friendly rivalry between us all.
Sure.
Because we're all ultra competitive. We want to win and beat the other person, but definitely I think there's mutual respect too.
The competitive level, even since you got back in, you were sort of part of this new wave of highly competitive, very serious midget teams. And now you look around and I feel like people have emulated what you've done. I feel like there were maybe a few of you that raised each other up all at the same time, and now you look around and there are quite a few teams that emulate what you guys are doing. Is I guess imitation the sincerest form of flattery. Is it a little bit of a feather in your cap to see what you've, I guess, how you've pushed all of midget racing in a way?
Yeah, absolutely. And
collective group.
And I kind of look at like 08, 09, right? My first couple years in midget racing. You had Casey's cars and you had Tony's cars, and it was competitive. And then I think for a couple years, it all dipped down a little bit, and then since 16 it's just on the rise. And now from your last place car to your first place car, there's not a big difference, right? And like in 08 there was.
Yeah.
And now everyone is showing up with great cars, and you have good teams like RMS and what Robert Dalby's doing. Right. And different guys are you know, building the absolute best cars that they can to come and try to win these midget races. And that's why the product is so good on track too, right?
Yeah.
Like you watch a midget race, you're probably going to be entertained.
Yeah.
You know, and you're able to watch a lot of different types of racing these days. And I don't think a midget race, I put it up against anything right now.
You brought up Robert Dalby's name. He spoke a lot of you when we talked to him. Same with the Mitchells, with Bundy and Ethan. You're kind of a veteran. You're not that old, but you're kind of a veteran in the scene. Do you feel a sense of responsibility to maybe help some of those people, or you know, I think you maybe see something.
Yeah, and I think some of it is maybe I'm just a little bit more approachable, you know, to some of those guys, because, you know, I'm just some kid, right? So
and they've raced against you.
Yeah.
I mean,
and obviously, you know, Robert's ran some races over here, so we have that relationship. And then with Bundy being local, and then, you know, it's just been fun to kind of be able to, we come from the same spot, so, you know, we're always talking about when we're leaving. And, you know, because racing out of North Carolina is not easy. Right. You know, we usually have long drives, and so Bundy and I always keep each other company on those. And he's definitely a character, so it makes it entertaining.
I mean, he's come a long way.
Absolutely, and I think the way they've done it themselves with their engine package and, you know, not giving up. He always gets to that breaking point, and then he goes to Bloomington and sets quick time. So, you know, it definitely, and it's a lot of what they do, I kind of see in stuff that my dad and I did, right? You know, taking on different projects that probably wasn't maybe the smartest thing to do, but, you know, going out and racing with your dad, there's nothing better. And like even Cannon getting to go back and drive for his dad, I would say there's nothing better than getting to go racing with your dad, so definitely enjoy it when you can.
Yeah. Tough out of North Carolina, and I know that you're very particular about, you know, who touches your race cars. We just saw some of your best help walk in. How difficult was it to assemble a group that you could count on, and how tough has it been to get a bunch that's willing to, you know, work with this kind of schedule and being, you know, going on the road when you do have to race?
Yeah, definitely. It's difficult, but, you know, down here in North Carolina, there's a lot of guys that have raced sprint cars and midgets before, and then transitioned to maybe doing other stuff with stock car racing and not, and then they kind of, you know, do the stock car thing and realize, well, you know, maybe sprint car and midget racing wasn't that bad, right? So just being able to, you know, create relationships, and then people I've met over time through other things that I've done, you know, I've kept those relationships, and, you know, being able to utilize their skills and to create the product that we are able to put on the track. And I think that's one thing, is just, you know, the relationships you have with people, and, you know, trying to maximize those relationships to make your product the best.
Sure.
But yeah, so we got a couple Chili Bowl cars that we stripped down, that we ran, and then
so this is kind of, I mean, we've talked about it with other teams, but this is kind of the end of your season.
Yes, essentially, yeah. So we got, you know, a couple outdoor cars. We're gonna run 2 cars down in Florida. I'm sure when this gets put out, we'll already know who the other driver is. So Chase Elliott was gonna run. He's gonna run some midget races for us this year too, so that's exciting. And then Chris's backup car is obviously over there, ready to go. But yeah, we're definitely at the end of the year. You guys make it difficult on us, you know, because we go from the West. I tell people, from when we leave for the West Coast to when I get back from Florida is the busiest I'll be all year. And that's, you know, because it makes midget week seem easy, but just with the travel, and then, you know, obviously every midget team puts a ton of effort in the Chili Bowl. So just getting cars ready for that, and then you have to bring, you know, you usually bring quite a few.
Right. You know, we've had ideas of trimming, but midgets are so popular. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
I thought we had you talked
about
into
that 5-year span, but they are so popular, and everybody wants midget race. I mean, and you can't really argue with them.
Yeah.
So.
But, you know, it's definitely better to have more races than less. Yeah. So we'll take it. But it definitely is busy. I'm looking forward to, I think it's like 6 weeks off after we get home from Florida. I know my wife's looking forward to 6 weeks off when we get home from Florida. So.
But you're taking on, you know, more races. You're running some younger drivers who you think can develop and be that next wave for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think,
we have a lot of exciting things going on this year. Ryan Timms is going to run some races for us. He's going to do select USAC races.
Yeah.
So I think once once this new crop of kids that we have coming in, I think it's just going to add to the sport. We definitely have some exciting things going on at CBI, and looking forward to working with some younger drivers and being able to kind of groom them and then bring them into USAC in a year or two.
Chase, not a young driver, but he's new.
Yeah.
How do you look at that challenge of trying to get him where he needs to be with the midget?
Yeah, it's exciting, and I think just having the opportunity for him to come over here and he's definitely going out on a limb and trying something new, and which I have a ton of respect for, and maybe me having done a little bit of both, and I've known Chase for a while now too, because we both did kind of K&N together, so I think that relationship will be good. And then obviously he has a ton of people he can lean on, and having Kyle run over here or Christopher run over here, those guys that he races with every week, I feel like he can kind of bounce different ideas off those guys, and I'll just try to help him as much as I can. Yeah, and I think it's just him getting comfortable and getting confidence in the car, right? Confidence in his ability and finding that level of how hard you actually have to run them, and that's all stuff that will come with laps. And I think he's obviously building for 2022 Chili Bowl. It's kind of what this is all about, these races that he's going to run, to kind of give him a real shot about doing it. Obviously doing Millbridge was great before, but you're not going to get the experience that Kyle and Christopher and those type of guys have in one race at Millbridge. So he's definitely doing it the right way and putting in the work to be successful.